Tonight, Virginia voters making history, electing Abigail Spanberger as the Commonwealth's first female governor.
And Virginia, I cannot wait to get to work for you.
Her message, along with the Democratic ticket, leading the party to a clean sweep for statewide office.
The first Muslim woman to achieve statewide office, not just in Virginia, but in the entire country.
While back-to-back scandals define the Attorney General's race, Democrat Jay Jones crosses the finish line to victory.
That I am honored and ready to be your next Attorney General of Virginia.
Republican Winsome Earle-Sears thanking her supporters.
I thank you. I thank you for giving me this very great opportunity.
After weeks of campaigning, voters across Virginia making their voices heard.
We got to save Virginia. We have to save Virginia.
And I think that she has a really good vision for Virginia.
With power in the House of Delegates up for grabs and dozens of city and county races, historic voter turnout.
Voters are excited. They're waiting in line. They want to be here. They want to get their votes counted and cast.
And now the vote counting continues. It's election night on 12 on your side.
It was a surprisingly early night, with NBC News projecting Abigail Spanberger as Virginia's next governor before 8:30. It wasn't even close. Thanks for joining us on this historic night. I'm Kurt Autry.
And I'm Riley Wyant. For the first time, Virginia voters elected a female governor, leading to a blue wave across the Commonwealth's statewide offices. The results are clear. Virginians are excited for a new direction. As you can see, that margin there, about 14 points. A huge win for Abigail Spanberger.
Tonight, Central Virginia's #1 news team on your side with team coverage. Our crews are live all across the Commonwealth, including with Winsome Earle-Sears' campaign at her headquarters.
But we begin tonight with political reporter Henry Graff live in Richmond at the Democrats' headquarters after Abigail Spanberger delivered her victory speech. Henry?
Good evening to you. Yeah, the former CIA officer turned congresswoman, now governor-elect, getting 57% of the vote at last check. Abigail Spanberger saying this victory here sending a message across the Commonwealth and across the country. The race, as you said, called earlier than expected, even for the folks here just before 8 p.m. Spanberger speaking for about 25 minutes. Flanked by her husband, her 3 children on the stage, she thanked the supporters here and the campaign staff, but she was also quick to talk about the issues here: affordability, health care, reproductive rights. The Democrats saying voters chose the Commonwealth over chaos coming out of Washington, and then she took a moment to reflect on the history being made here.
It's a big deal that the girls and the young women I have met along the campaign trail now know with certainty that they can achieve anything. It's a big deal.
So now the real work gets underway as Spanberger has to form a new administration. She will meet with outgoing Governor Glenn Youngkin on Thursday for a traditional luncheon meeting of the families, and then Spanberger will be inaugurated as the 75th governor of the great Commonwealth of Virginia coming up on January 17th. We're live and on your side tonight here at the Greater Richmond Convention Center. I'm Henry Graff, 12 on your side.
Henry, thank you. Meantime, a much different scene in Loudoun County as Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earle-Sears concedes the race to Abigail Spanberger. Sarah Shackles has been following this race all day. She joins us now live from Leesburg. Sarah, the atmosphere much different there.
Hi, Riley. Yes, I mean, a picture says 1,000 words. Look behind me now. It is dark, it is quiet, it is empty. Folks basically leaving shortly after Winsome Earle-Sears gave her concession speech. In her speech, well, first she came out with her husband and her daughters by her side, waving to everyone to applause. In her speech, she mentioned her faith quite a bit. She thanked everyone for being here to support her. She had a much softer tone in her concession speech as well than what we'd seen on the campaign trail. One other thing she wanted to say is that she's grateful for the opportunity, mentioning being the daughter of an immigrant, her father who came here from Jamaica with less than $2 in his pocket, and how she was able to join the Marines and then go into a life of service, saying that she feels called to serve. She also said that she called Abigail Spanberger to congratulate her on her success and that she stands by willing to help. Take a listen.
And I wished her success. If she is successful, Virginia will be successful. That's what I wish for her. And I asked her to support policies that will unite us, that will not divide us, that will strengthen our families and keep us safe. And that if I can ever be of help doing that, I'm here. I'm ready to volunteer. After all, apparently I have nothing else to do.
Now, Winsome Earle-Sears waited about an hour after Abigail Spanberger, the election had already been called as her as the winner, before she came out and greeted her supporters here. And there was definitely disappointment in the air. Obviously, she had wanted to be Virginia's first female governor, and had she had won, she would have been the first female African-American governor elected in U.S. history. So obviously some disappointment there, but she says this is not the end for her. Also interesting to note, she did not receive the endorsement from President Donald Trump. It's unclear whether that would have helped or hurt her in this situation. But anyway, a sad day for the Winsome Earle-Sears campaign. From Leesburg, Sarah Shackles, 12 on your side.
Okay, Sarah, thank you. And let's bring in our Director of Investigations, Rachel DePapa, joining us now. She's been tracking these races and crunching the numbers for us pretty much all night.
Rachel, this is a clean sweep from Dems at the top of the ticket, and we're also seeing several House seats flip.
Yeah, there is no doubt about it. This is a blue wave here in Virginia, the complete opposite of what we saw in 2021 when Governor Glenn Youngkin was swept into office. And I think what's most interesting here is that Abigail Spanberger was a strong candidate at the top of the ticket. You saw the vote in some of the less populated areas of Virginia. The GOP didn't show up like they normally do, so it was why it was called so early tonight. Here's the most interesting fact of the night so far. Votes are still coming in, but when you have Jason Miyares and John Reed, the Lieutenant Governor and Attorney General candidates on the Republican side, getting more votes than the candidate at the top of the ticket, that says a lot about the candidate at the top of the ticket. Wasn't motivating people, getting them out. And here's the other thing about tonight. The Democrats started this night with a majority. They had a 2-seat majority, 1 open seat, 51 to 48. They're going to pick up 10 to 13 seats. Wow. 10 to 13 seats in some areas out in Harrisonburg that were historically Republican areas. Areas here, House District 75, Lindsay Doherty looks like she's going to beat Carrie Coyner. 73, Chesterfield, Leslie Mehta took out Mark Early. And in House District 82, a big one we saw a lot of ads for here, Kimberly Pope Adams won that rematch with Kim Taylor, handily taking the seat away from her.
All right, let's talk about the top of the ticket and the GOP in general. They getting bashed for the last 6 months for their support of Donald Trump, but at no time did he ever return the favor. He was unable, in a call as recently as last night, unable to say the name Winsome Earle-Sears or John Reed, with Jason Miyares the only person he would actually call.
Because he had intel that Jason Miyares was the only candidate who could possibly take a seat. He clearly was bothered by Winsome Earle-Sears not supporting him in his reelection efforts early on expressly. And then, but I think what you really have here, though, is the economy, tariffs, the loss of jobs, and the shutdown. The exit polling here really shows that mattered to a lot of people and really got people out to the polls. And you have Virginia, Northern Virginia, the most federal jobs across any state. And you have people legitimately and seriously worried about this. So overall, this is a message about the second term of the Trump administration right now. This is clearly, when you look at the races in New York and New Jersey, Democrats are sweeping everywhere. You got the position out in California is likely to pass there too about redistricting. But what this also says is what is to come in the midterms if we stay the course. Is this what's going to happen in the midterms as well?
All right. Thank you so much. And let's talk about the closest race of the night, at least on a statewide ticket, and that would be the race for Attorney General. NBC projected Jay Jones beating incumbent Jason Miyares before 10 o'clock tonight. And his win coming after back-to-back scandals. Of course, it was not only the text messages, but it was the 116-mile-an-hour speeding ticket, both of which he apologized for.
And despite recent polls predicting a Republican win, Jones calling the win an honor. Here's where things stand at last check, if we can get a live look at those results. And that is for governor. So let's go over to Franklin White. He is at the Jones rally in Richmond. Franklin, what is the overall reaction tonight?
Well, the overall reaction is excitement. Everybody is now filling out of the room right now and leaving for the night. But despite those controversial and potentially campaign-hurting headlines you guys mentioned earlier, Jay Jones still made history tonight and won the race for Attorney General. With 51% of the votes, 1.4 million votes, he beat incumbent Jason Miyares, becoming the first black person to be elected Attorney General of Virginia. He spoke for about 8 minutes tonight with his wife and son on stage and talked about what this win means for him and for the state of Virginia. Listen.
I know that I walk in the footsteps of those generations before me who fought and bled to guarantee the freedoms that we have in this democracy right now. And I know that it's because of all of them and all of you tonight that I am honored and ready to be your next Attorney General of Virginia. The first black person bestowed with this awesome responsibility in the history of this Commonwealth.
And as you heard there, Jay Jones becoming the first black person to be elected Attorney General, making history tonight. He thanked Miyares in his speech and said he hopes to sit down with him before he takes office. Jones, as you may remember, previously was the Assistant Attorney General for D.C., and his inauguration is scheduled for January 17th. Reporting live in Richmond tonight, Franklin White, 12 on your side.
Okay, Franklin, thank you. Meantime, Jason Miyares speaking to his supporters in Virginia Beach, thanking them for their votes and conceding what would prove to be the closest race of the night on the statewide ticket. Madison McNamee is following the latest from there. Maddie.
The room has really emptied out here. I mean, people started leaving pretty much right after Jason Miyares wrapped up his speech on the stage behind me, where he was reflecting on his time in office. He wished Jay Jones all the best in this next step, but he avoided mentioning those text messages or really any of the scandals that we have been talking about constantly for the past few weeks. He really took this as a moment just to look back on his own time as Attorney General. He talked about fighting the fentanyl issues in the Commonwealth, being the son of an immigrant, making him the first Hispanic American in his role in Virginia. But this was not the night Republicans wanted, especially the ones here in Virginia Beach, because this race, the one for Attorney General, was their best bet at splitting the ticket and getting some representation when it comes to those statewide positions. It was a closer race than the gubernatorial. It was the last one to be called, but you can really feel the disappointment in here now, though Jason Miyares is staying positive and says his work is not done.
I've been so honored to serve in this role, so honored by every Virginian that stood with me, that would come up to me whenever I just run to the grocery store and say, I'm proud of you, I'm praying for you. It meant so much to me. I'm so humbled, Virginians, by your persistence, by your decency, by your goodness. It has truly been the honor of my life to be your Attorney General. Thank you. We'll see you in the future. God bless you.
I think the Republicans had really been holding on to some sort of hope since the release of Jay Jones' 2022 messages, and they saw that swaying some voters in the polls, but ultimately it just was not enough. The Democrats got the sweep, the flip, really, that they had been wanting, so it was not the night that the Republicans here had been wanting. Live in Virginia Beach, Madison McNamee, 12 on your side.
All right, thanks, Maddie. Now to the race for Lieutenant Governor, another win for Democrats. This race was called shortly after the gubernatorial race.
That's right. The polls were not indicators of what would play out here. This was a landslide. Desiree Montilla joining us now with an update on the Lieutenant Governor races. Desi.
Yeah, Riley and Kurt, in a key race with poll numbers tightening in the last stretch before the election, Democrat Ghazala Hashmi won with 54% of the vote and is making history not only as Virginia's first Asian and Muslim lieutenant governor, but as the first Muslim American woman to be elected to a statewide office in the U.S. The state senator, now turned lieutenant governor-elect, joined the rest of the Democratic ticket at the Greater Richmond Convention Center to celebrate her win. Just before 10 this evening, Hashmi took the stage, greeted with loud cheers and a round of applause from the crowd. During her victory speech, Hashmi told her supporters they're carving out a new historic path with this election.
We are punching holes into darkness. So let us move forward, choosing compassion over callousness, democracy over demagoguery, courage over cowardice. Only then will we be able to continue punching holes into that darkness. Virginia.
And while Virginia Democrats were celebrating Hashmi's win in Richmond, over in Henrico, Hashmi's Republican opponent, John Reed, spent the night with his supporters inside Atlas 42. Just before 9:30 this evening, the conservative radio host addressed the crowd inside the restaurant, saying this isn't the outcome he hoped for, but it's the one that he accepts. Reed also mentioned the obstacles he faced on the campaign trail, saying he stood his ground and had this final message for the crowd.
Please do not walk out of here hanging your heads tonight. I'm not going to. I want you to lift them up because we ran a good race. We fought a good fight. We stood in the arena together. You told the truth, which is a rarity in this business. And we believed in the Commonwealth. And you reminded a lot of people that decency, conviction, and common sense do still have a place in public life.
Reed also took time during his speech to thank his family as well as Winsome Earle-Sears and Jason Miyares. But at no point during his speech did Reed congratulate his Democratic opponent on her win. It's also unclear if the two had a conversation after the results came in. Desiree Montilla, 12 on your side.
Thanks, Desi. And of course, Virginia not the only state with major offices up for grabs tonight. Decisions in New Jersey's governor's race and the New York City mayoral race coming down not long after the polls closed earlier tonight.
The blue wave we saw here in Virginia extending in both of those states. Amaya Mitchell joins us now with that part of our coverage.
Yeah, the blue wave, like you said, continues in major races across America tonight. In New Jersey, Democrat Mikey Sherrill beat out Republican Jack Ciattarelli in a battle to turn the blue state red. Sherrill is a former Navy helicopter pilot and four-term member of Congress. She will succeed incumbent Democrat Phil Murphy as New Jersey's governor's mansion remains blue. Meanwhile, in the Big Apple, Zohran Mamdani is the city's newest mayor. He beats out former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who ran as an independent with support from President Trump. He will replace Mayor Eric Adams, who dropped his re-election bid 2 months ago. Mamdani is a self-described Democratic socialist and at 34 years old will be the city's youngest mayor in over a century. Just moments ago, NBC News confirms California voters approved Proposition 50 to redraw the state's congressional maps ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. It's similar to efforts here in Virginia. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Amaya. We'd now like to bring in Dr. Ernest B. McGowan, Associate Professor of Political Science at the University of Richmond. Thank you for being here tonight. It is quite late, and you have been crunching the numbers and really hanging with us, and we really appreciate that.
You know, we have to ask off the get-go here is, how did the polls get it so wrong? I mean, it seemed like these races in the last month were really tightening up, and that was really not the case.
Well, two things could actually be happening. Number one, they could have tightened simply because of the scandal, the J. Jones scandal, and all of the media attention that it got. Also, what we were seeing is that a lot of the early polls, they had strong amounts of people who were either didn't know the candidates or were not sure. And so as those numbers began to go down, you would expect the trend to be a little more like we would expect in Virginia, very close. When the late money started coming in more for the Democrats, then we saw the lead go back to where it was before.
This clean sweep, what does this say about where Virginia voters are feeling politically right now?
Well, generally what I would say is that if it was the same result as we saw with Kamala Harris, then we would say the status quo was holding. But we're actually seeing the Democrats outperform what happened with Kamala Harris, particularly in certain locales, these House of Delegate races and things like that. And so I think if we're looking for the midterms in Virginia, whatever this redistricting is, possibly 2028, Democrats would probably think that it's a lean their way.
And you got to wonder about the length of this shutdown, now becoming the longest in history, and what role that may have played.
Exactly, and we'll see how long the trickle down is. We'll see if it really is in the state of play when we're beginning to have debates about what particular politicians locally were doing in Virginia, whether or not those that hurt still resonates when it comes into the run-up to the midterms.
You know, this was quite a contentious election cycle. We saw scandals, we saw a lot of attacks on both sides of the aisle. What strategies did Democrats get right, and did Republicans miss the mark on any key messaging here?
Well, generally, when we talk about projections, we talk about the fundamentals. And the fundamentals were definitely against the Republican Party. If you look at the right track, wrong track numbers, if you look at Donald Trump's approval rating, it's below water, it's below 50%. And so all things being equal, you would have thought that the Democrats would come in with a stronger position, particularly since President Trump lost Virginia in 2024.
All right, Doctor, thanks for your time tonight. We appreciate it. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
And a reminder, our Decision Virginia coverage continues tomorrow on 12 News Today. Our team is already in the building following every race. We'll bring you reaction and what those outcomes mean for the Commonwealth when 12 News Today starts at 4:30 a.m.
Coming up, the latest on that deadly plane crash out of Kentucky.
But first, a live look from our Skycam on a chilly election night. A beautiful day to vote, giving way to a chill in the air for those results. Your First Alert forecast and much more coming up next. Welcome back as we take a live look at South Richmond from our Skycam. Another clear and chilly night for most of the region, but a warm-up is on the way.
But it's not happening tonight. I just stuck my head outside. And meteorologist Megan Wise, it is chilly out there.
It is chilly. Make sure you have your jackets before you head out the door tomorrow. A warm-up, though, in store for us tomorrow afternoon. We make it into the 70s. That will be thanks to a southwest wind that'll really pick up during the afternoon. That's going to bring in the warmth, but the winds will be gusty at times. 25 to 35 mile per hour gusts as we go throughout the afternoon, and then gradually lightening as we go into tomorrow evening. As far as our chance for rain, it's not significant. We could see a few showers. Looks like during the pre-dawn hours of Saturday, late Friday, and then again a few showers possible on Sunday. Big headline is this third headline. We've got some cold air moving in at the beginning of next week. So by Tuesday morning, some of us could be waking up to the 20s, so feeling like winter. Tonight, though, it's cold. Low 40s in Tappahannock, already in the upper 30s in Louisa. We're at 39 as well in Petersburg and Emporia. Nottoway County are in the low 40s, and everyone is looking at dry conditions tonight, and that's how it will stay as we go throughout the overnight. Temperatures dropping to near 40 degrees here in the city. Outlying areas, though, mid and upper 30s. It'll be a beautiful Wednesday. We've got a mixture of sun and clouds throughout the afternoon. We will have a sustained wind between about 10 to 15 miles per hour out of the southwest, and then again gusty at times. I would avoid any outdoor burning tomorrow. We've got dry soil, we have low relative humidity, and that breeze, that's just a recipe for fires that could spread pretty quickly. So use extra caution tomorrow. As we head into the evening tomorrow night, mainly clear skies once again. 7 o'clock will be in the low 60s, and then fast forwarding to that hour-by-hour forecast for a small chance for a few showers. This is late Friday. Notice that rain farther back to the west. As it tracks to the east, it almost just breaks apart, fizzles on out after it heads over the mountains. But a few showers may make it into the early morning hours of Saturday for a few of us. I think most areas will end up dry. Everyone, though, is going to be looking at a warm afternoon Saturday, mid-70s, and we're back in the low 70s Sunday afternoon. We'll watch for a few showers during the day Sunday, and then that cold air moves in to start next week. We have the forecast low here in the city Tuesday in the low 30s, but outlying areas, again, we could be talking at the 20s. Kurt?
All right, thanks, Meg. After the break, 7 people are dead, multiple others injured after a UPS plane crashes on takeoff tonight from Louisville, Kentucky. We'll have the latest on this tragedy and your other top headlines after the break.
Tonight, horrifying scenes from Kentucky after a plane crashed near the Louisville airport earlier this evening. Officials say seven people are dead and 11 others are hurt after a UPS plane crashes during takeoff from the Muhammad Ali airport. A shelter in place was issued for all areas within a 5-mile radius of the airport. No word on what led to the crash.
Former Vice President Dick Cheney has died at the age of 84. Cheney's political career began during the Nixon administration. He then became chief of staff for President Gerald Ford, then Secretary of Defense under President George H.W. Bush. Most famously, he spent 8 years as vice president under George W. Bush from 2001 to 2009. According to family members, Cheney died from pneumonia along with heart and vascular disease.
Tomorrow, the ongoing government shutdown is set to become the longest in history. A 14th Senate vote to end the government shutdown failing today. Now SNAP recipients are caught in the middle. Today, President Donald Trump says benefits will only be paid out when the government opens back up. It comes just one day after his administration announced it would pay half the cost of SNAP this month.
Before we leave you, taking another look at Virginia's statewide contest tonight. The first one to be called, the race for the governor's mansion. Democrat Abigail Spanberger soundly defeating Republican Winsome Earle-Sears. With the win, she becomes the Commonwealth's first female governor.
And now to the lieutenant governor's race. Democrat Ghazala Hashmi defeating Republican John Reed. Outlets started calling this race for the current state senator just before 8:30 tonight. Hashmi's victory makes her the first Muslim woman to win statewide office in the country.
And plenty of talk surrounding the race for Attorney General. It was the closest race out of the three, but ended up going blue as well. Outlets calling the contest for Democrat Jay Jones in the past hour. He defeats incumbent Republican Jason Miyares.
And remember, you can get caught up on everything election related, even when we aren't on the air. Results are always available on our website and the 12 on Your Side mobile app.
We appreciate you staying up late with us on this historic election. Stay tuned. The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon coming your way next.
And we'll be following every race throughout the night and bring you the very latest on 12 News Today starting at 4:30. In the meantime, have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Good night.